The marble domes of Dushanbe shimmer under a pale October sky. Motorcades glide through the broad avenues of the Tajik capital as security details line the streets. Inside the Palace of Nations, chandeliers glow above a long red carpet. It is the morning of October 9th, 2025, and the leaders of Central Asia have arrived to meet Vladimir Putin. One by one, the presidents of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan step onto the stage, joining their host, Tajik President Emomali Rahmon. Cameras click in a staccato rhythm as the family photo is arranged, a symbolic image of post-Soviet solidarity reborn in an age of shifting alliances. Putin stands in the center, calm, deliberate, projecting a quiet confidence that belies the turbulence of the global stage. This is the Central Asia-Russia Summit, a forum that began as a diplomatic courtesy, but now carries profound geopolitical weight. For Tajikistan, hosting the event is a moment of pride, an assertion of regional relevance and a reminder that even small nations can play a central role when geography and timing align. For Russia, it is a test of continuity. Can Moscow maintain influence across its southern flank at a time when sanctions, wars, and new global blocs are redrawing the map? The atmosphere is formal but cordial. Putin greets Rahmon with a firm handshake, the kind that signals familiarity and mutual dependence. Behind the ceremonial gestures lies a dense agenda: security cooperation, energy networks, migration policy, and the future of Eurasian integration. Around them, aides exchange documents and quiet glances. Every move is choreographed, every photo carefully timed. Yet beneath the ritual, a new reality is taking shape, one in which Russia's power is measured less by its tanks and more by its partnerships. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev of Kazakhstan arrives next. A seasoned diplomat fluent in both Russian and Chinese, Tokayev embodies the balancing act of Central Asia itself. His country has kept open trade with both Moscow and Beijing, positioning itself as a bridge between the sanctioned and the sanctioned out. For him, the summit is a chance to reinforce Kazakhstan's role as a pragmatic middleman in an increasingly polarized world. From the west, Kyrgyz President Seydir Japarov enters the hall, followed by Turkmenistan's young leader, Serdar Berdimuhamedov. Their nations share more than borders. They share economic dependencies that tie them to Russian markets and to the vast network of migrant labor that sustains families back home. For them, this summit is not about ideology. It is about lifelines, remittances, trade routes, and the promise of stability. Finally comes Shavkat Mirziyoyev, the reform-minded president of Uzbekistan. His arrival completes the picture of Central Asia's evolving order. Nations once bound by Moscow's command economy, now seeking leverage through diplomacy rather than subservience. As he shakes hands with Rahmon, the camera captures an unspoken sentiment: competition wrapped in cordiality, independence dressed in protocol. Inside the grand hall, the leaders take their seats. Ornate carpets soften their footsteps as an interpreter's voice fills the room. Putin opens the meeting with remarks about shared history and collective destiny. His tone is warm yet purposeful. He speaks of friendship, security, and the need for cooperation in a multipolar world. Behind him, the flags of 6 nations ripple faintly in the artificial breeze of the air-conditioned hall. Observers note that the choreography mirrors Soviet tradition, but the tone feels unmistakably modern. Gone are the grand ideological declarations of the past. In their place, a business-like pragmatism: deals, corridors, data, and defense. Each leader knows what he wants from Moscow, and each knows that Russia, weakened by sanctions yet rich in resources, still has much to offer. The cameras focus briefly on Tokayev listening intently, then on Japarov scribbling notes. Putin glances toward Rahmon, his longtime ally and host. Across the table, Mirziyoyev exchanges a brief nod with the Turkmen delegation. The choreography is smooth, the message clear. The post-Soviet sphere may have fragmented, but it has not vanished. Outside the summit chamber, a separate bilateral meeting unfolds, this time between Putin and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev. The two men exchange practiced smiles, shaking hands for the cameras before sitting down. Their conversation, mostly off-mic, touches on the South Caucasus, transit routes, and the still fragile peace after years of conflict. For Putin, it's another opportunity to project Russia's return as a mediator, not through coercion, but through conversation. Back inside the main hall, discussions widen. Trade, energy, and digital infrastructure dominate the agenda. Russia proposes new customs simplifications and cross-border transport projects. Tajik officials push for joint hydroelectric ventures. Uzbekistan lobbies for technology investments. Kyrgyzstan seeks greater labor protections for its citizens working in Russia. Each nation plays to its own priorities, but all converge on one theme: regional interdependence as the new currency of power. Across Eurasia, the ground is shifting. The old model of dominance is giving way to one of mutual necessity. Russia needs Central Asia to maintain access to Asian markets. Central Asia needs Russia's infrastructure and military presence as a hedge against instability from Afghanistan. This dynamic, fragile, transactional, and pragmatic, defines today's summit. Analysts point out that the timing is strategic. With the Gaza ceasefire holding and global attention momentarily diverted, Moscow is quietly fortifying its southern flank. The Kremlin's goal is to present Russia as a stable partner, not an aggressor, but a guarantor of regional balance. The optics matter. 6 presidents, one handshake after another, under a banner that reads, "Partnership for a Common Future." As the morning turns to afternoon, working groups break away into smaller rooms. Defence officials review security cooperation on the Afghan frontier. Economic ministers finalise language for an energy memorandum. Technocrats discuss digital infrastructure and cybersecurity. The tone remains polite yet purposeful. Behind every smile lies calculation. What can each side extract and at what cost? Outside, the streets of Dushanbe are lined with flags and posters proclaiming friendship forever. School children wave banners as Russian motorcades pass by. Television crews broadcast live commentary about Eurasian unity and shared development. It's part celebration, part state choreography, a performance meant as much for domestic audiences as for international viewers. For Tajikistan, this summit is a statement. After decades on the periphery, Dushanbe stands at the crossroads of power once again. For Putin, it is another step in redefining Russia's role, no longer just Europe's antagonist, but Asia's partner. The strategy is subtle but deliberate: reorient trade, cement defence ties, and demonstrate that Moscow's reach remains global, even under economic siege. Political observers note that Putin's presence in Dushanbe carries an added message. Only days earlier, he publicly endorsed Washington's ceasefire plan for Gaza, an unexpected gesture of alignment after months of rivalry. Now, in Central Asia, he reinforces the same theme: Russia as a constructive actor on the world stage. The Kremlin wants to be seen not as isolated, but indispensable. Within the summit hall, speeches continue. Rahmon thanks his guests and highlights Tajikistan's progress in infrastructure and water management. Tokayev speaks of regional connectivity, calling for more railways linking Central Asia to the Caspian. Japarov raises the issue of electricity shortages and mutual support. Mirziyoyev emphasizes technology, education, and youth. Each leader frames his priorities within the language of cooperation, a deliberate contrast to the rivalries that have historically divided them. Putin listens patiently, occasionally jotting notes. When he takes the microphone again, he reiterates a message of shared sovereignty. Russia will always respect the independence and traditions of its partners, he says. The line draws mild applause, diplomatic, restrained, but symbolically important. It is a pledge to treat Central Asia not as a backyard, but as a neighborhood. In private, aides say discussions went deeper than the cameras revealed. A proposal for a unified energy grid across the region was reportedly revisited. So was a new digital security accord aimed at protecting government networks from cyber attacks. Neither agreement was finalized, but both show a shift from old-style geopolitics to new-age pragmatism, from armies to algorithms. By late afternoon, the air in the palace grows heavy with protocol and anticipation. Putin meets Rahmon in a smaller wood-paneled room for a one-on-one conversation. Tajik media later described the tone as friendly but focused. They discuss the Afghan border, where Tajik troops, many trained by Russian instructors, face constant pressure from cross-border smuggling and militant infiltration. For Rahmon, Moscow's security backing remains vital. For Putin, maintaining that foothold secures Russia's southern gate. Outside the palace, as dusk settles, Dushanbe begins to glow in gold. The city, usually quiet, now hums with convoys, lights and music. Street vendors sell miniature flags and souvenir coins marking the summit. For ordinary citizens, the event brings curiosity and pride, a reminder that their small nation briefly became the diplomatic centre of Eurasia. Inside, the final session begins. Delegates exchange signed communiques and symbolic gifts. Ramon offers his thanks once more, calling the summit a bridge between the past and the future. Putin responds in kind, praising Tajikistan's hospitality and the region's resilience. Around them, applause breaks out, polite, orchestrated, but sincere in tone. The cameras capture every handshake, every nod. Analysts across Moscow, Tashkent, and Brussels are quick to interpret the scene. Some see it as a comeback, proof that Russia, though constrained by sanctions, can still rally partners. Others view it as necessity, a survival mechanism for leaders seeking to hedge between global powers. Either way, the outcome is clear. Central Asia is no longer a passive frontier. It is an active participant in the new geopolitical order. As the summit draws to a close, the leaders gather once more for the family photo. The setting sun filters through the palace windows, bathing the scene in amber light. There is a sense of quiet accomplishment, of continuity achieved through ceremony. For Tajikistan, this day will be remembered as a diplomatic milestone. For Russia, it is another piece of the puzzle, proof that the Eurasian project endures. The motorcades begin to move again. Putin departs first, his convoy sweeping past, cheering onlookers. Ramon stands at the entrance, waving as each guest leaves. Within minutes, the courtyard empties and the palace returns to silence. Only the flags remain, fluttering gently in the evening breeze. In Dushanbe's night air, the echoes of the summit linger. The speeches, the handshakes, the subtle recalibration of power. The world's gaze may soon turn elsewhere, but for a moment, Central Asia stood at the center of the map, and its leaders seized the spotlight. In the months ahead, analysts will measure what this meeting truly achieved, whether agreements will hold, whether promises will materialize. But one fact is already evident. The axis of influence across Eurasia is shifting. It no longer runs solely through Moscow or Beijing, but through the pragmatic, self-assured capitals of the steppe and the mountains. For Emomali Rahmon, it is a legacy moment. For Vladimir Putin, a demonstration of endurance. For the region, perhaps the quiet beginning of a new chapter, one where history's forgotten crossroads reclaim their voice. The palace lights dim, the press corps packs away its cameras, and Dushanbe, for a single evening, breathes the calm that follows diplomacy, knowing that in a world of shifting sands, even a handshake can redraw borders, and a summit can rewrite the balance of power.
Слово предоставляется президенту Российской Федерации.
Большое спасибо, уважаемый Мавлид Шарипович, дорогие друзья, коллеги. Экономик государств Центральной Азии свыше $1 миллиарда. Какой ресурс, многосторонний формат общения, тоже весьма полезен, имеет свою очевидную...
Уважаемые близки, и прежде всего, конечно, это касается торгово-экономических связей. Благодарю вас.
Спасибо большое, Владимир Владимирович. В первую очередь хотел бы месседжи, которые мы сегодня отправляем нашим